Imagine drifting over the endless blue expanse of the ocean on a crisp morning, where sunlight dances on waves that look deceptively serene. Satellites high above capture something unsettling. Vast patches of water stripped of their subtle green hue, as if the sea itself is bleaching from within. Phytoplankton, those microscopic powerhouses that form the base of the marine food chain, are vanishing at an alarming rate. Scientists have tracked this decline across low and mid-latitude oceans since 2001, revealing a consistent drop in ocean greenness that chills the spine. These tiny drifters produce half of Earth's oxygen, fueling life from krill to blue whales. Yet warming waters and acidification are starving them out. Stratification locks nutrient-rich deep waters away, leaving surface layers barren and buoyant. Blooms that once painted the seas in vibrant swirls now flicker and fade like dying embers. What invisible force is unraveling this foundation? And how long until the ripple reaches us all? Picture yourself plunging beneath the waves into a world where silence reigns supreme, broken only by the faint hum of currents. Phytoplankton populations have plummeted, some regions seeing up to 40% reductions in primary production over mere decades. Climate change shifts wind patterns and jet streams, weakening upwelling that brings vital nutrients to the light. Diatoms, those silica-shelled giants among plankton, struggle under ocean acidification that dissolves their armor. Without them, the biological carbon pump falters, trapping less CO2 and accelerating the very warming that dooms them. Fisheries teeter on the brink, as coastal ecosystems lose their lifeblood for billions who depend on the sea's bounty. Sea turtles and seabirds starve as their prey chains collapse, echoing warnings from ancient geological records. Could this silent exodus signal the ocean's transformation into something alien and unforgiving? Now lean in closer, as if peering through a microscope at the heart of this mystery, where the familiar gives way to foreboding emptiness. Plankton cannot migrate fast enough to escape the rapid temperature spikes we've unleashed, unlike in slower prehistoric warmings. Their thermal limits are breached, populations crashing in ways that threaten entire marine realms. Microplastics infiltrate their grays, carrying toxins up the web to fish on our plates. Wind farms and agricultural runoff compound the chaos, thinning biodiversity in unpredictable bursts. Researchers scramble with machine learning to map these shifts, but the data paints a grim portrait of decline. Oxygen levels in surface waters dip, hinting at breathless zones expanding like shadows. Is the ocean whispering its final breath, or merely reinventing itself in darkness? Feel the weight of this loss settle as we confront the eerie calm masking pandemonium below, where food webs fray like forgotten nets. Phytoplankton's fade disrupts everything from larval fish to colossal mammals, propagating scarcity through trophic levels. Benthic organisms that once thrived on summer productivity now hunger in the gloom. Interannual variability mocks predictions, as populations ebb and flow in frantic survival dances. Marine biologists note plummeting diversity almost everywhere, a cascade dooming zooplankton and beyond. Human legacies linger in chemical scars, endocrine disruptors twisting reproduction across species. The sea's green luster dims, a visual requiem for ecosystems we've unknowingly sabotaged. What horrors awaken when the base crumbles, forcing evolution's hand in haste. Hover now over coastal shallows where the decline bites deepest, revealing blank expanses that once teemed with life. Satellite imagery from 2001 to 2023 confirms fewer blooms, defying expectations of harmful algal surges. Instead, a subtle starvation grips the photic zone, where light meets lifelessness. Continental shelves, hotspots of production, yield less net primary energy, starving demersal fish and sediments alike. Global warming's legacy persists subsurface, intensifying barriers long after emissions cease. Coastal fisheries, vital for 3 billion souls, face existential threats from this unseen unraveling. The ocean's surface warms, lightens, and isolates, a stratified tomb for microscopic titans. Dare we ask if this is nature's revenge, brewing in the depths? Descend into the twilight zone where consequences coil like unseen serpents, poised to strike higher links in the chain. Plankton's plight weakens the ocean's carbon sink, releasing stored heat and gases in vicious feedback. Ancient analogs show relocation once saved them, but today's pace outruns fragile forms. Projections under conservative warming spell peril for swathes of marine life we scarcely comprehend. Heavy metals and phthalates from plastics poison the pulse of ocean rhythms. The food web, once robust, now trembles on mineral threads yet to form. Humanity's footprint etches genes and waters alike, a spectral inheritance. Will the void birth monstrosities, or merely amplify the quiet horror of absence? Surface briefly to gaze at skies subtly paling from reduced oxygen output, a planetary pallor born of oceanic neglect. Phytoplankton's dual role as breathers and sequesters falters, tilting climate balances precariously. Studies from Mediterranean to Northeast Shelf chronicle production's freefall, urging frantic monitoring. Variability challenges forecasts, demanding finer tools to pierce the fog. Yet the trend endures. Decline, disruption, despair veiled in blue. Larvae and fry dwindle, presaging barren harvests for future fleets. The sea holds its secrets close, stratification its iron gate. What mysteries lurk in the upwelling's absence, waiting to redefine hunger. Finally, let dread mingle with awe as we confront the precipice. An ocean unmoored from its photosynthetic past, adrift toward unknown shores. This vanishing foundation isn't mere loss. It's genesis for evolutionary nightmares we can only imagine. Traces persist in labs and sediments, but wild seas evolve unchecked in silence. Billions of cells surrender to forces we've set loose, their ghosts haunting empty currents. The horror lies not in spectacle, but subtlety, the slow suffocation of abundance. Questions burn. Can we halt the hemorrhage, or merely witness the rebirth of a colder, crystalline deep? Life persists, but transformed, whispering warnings through fading green. The ocean endures, forever altered, its mysteries deepening with every lost bloom. Dive deeper now, past the sunlit surface where familiar life fades, into realms where light yields to eternal twilight and pressure crushes the unwary. Here, in the shadowed embrace of hydrothermal vents, evolution whispers secrets of survival amid scalding fury and acidic bite. Extremophile microbes awaken, not from sunlight's kiss but from the Earth's molten veins, feeding on dissolved metals and hydrogen sulfide spewing from black smokers. These chemo-autotrophs harness chemical energy, oxidizing iron and manganese into life-sustaining fuel, their faint bioluminescent glow piercing the abyss like ghostly lanterns. Imagine clusters of them, thriving where pH plunges below 4. Temperatures soar past 100 degrees Celsius, defying the chaos that dooms their photosynthetic kin. They form dense mats, pulsating with otherworldly vigor, as ocean acidification spreads, turning vast swaths uninhabitable for delicate diatoms. What ancient drives compel these survivors to bloom where death reigns supreme, hinting at a food chain reborn in darkness. Picture these microscopic monarchs swarming in plumes of superheated water, their membranes laced with unique lipids that resist boiling rupture and crushing depths. Piezo-philes among them produce trimethylamine oxide, stabilizing proteins against hydrostatic siege, while piezolites shield enzymes from deformation. Halophilic cousins accumulate potassium chloride, balancing osmotic fury in briny outflows, their cell walls thickened against salinity's assault. Gene duplications arm them for relentless stress, churning metabolic miracles from toxic ions once deemed poisonous. As surface plankton wither under warming stratification, these vent dwellers migrate upward, colonizing acidified shallows with mechanical precision. Bioluminescence flickers in eerie blues and greens, metallic particles glinting like cybernetic implants in flesh. Do they sense our warming world as invitation, or merely exploit the void left by fallen giants? Lean closer to witness their alien alchemy. Sulfur-oxidizing bacteria like those in the SUP05 clade thrive on reduced compounds, fixing carbon without a whisper of chlorophyll. Archaea, ancient as the planet itself, deploy rhodopsins to pump ions across membranes, generating energy from faint proton gradients. In lab simulations of future oceans, they outpace photoautotrophs, their populations surging as pH drops to 7.4. Biofilms shift dramatically, actinobacteria and nitrosporia retreating while planktomycetes advance, reshaping communities in silent revolution. These new foundations pulse with efficiency, recycling nutrients in closed loops that mock oxygen scarcity. Glowing veils drape vent chimneys, undulating like spectral curtains beckoning deeper mysteries. Could this chemosynthetic empire quietly supplant the sun-dependent web we've always known? Feel the subtle horror creep in as these microbes shimmer reveals a metamorphosis. Bodies encrusted with iron oxides, resembling rusting machinery forged in hellish forges. Polyunsaturated fatty acids fortify membranes against pressure waves that pulverize ordinary cells, antioxidants quenching radiation's fire. In coastal vents, polyextremophiles endure hypersalinity alongside low pH, their diversity spiking where others perish. Ocean acidification, once a scourge, becomes their cradle, dissolving calcite shells to liberate metals for feast. Swarms drift lazily, propelled by flagella tuned to chemical gradients, seeking plumes like moths to flame. The water thickens with their presence, a metallic tang infiltrating currents worldwide. What unspoken pact allows them to flourish amid apocalypse, evolving faster than our fears can follow? Envision the scale. Billions upon trillions colonizing fracture zones, their chemosynthesis fueling nascent ecosystems in lightless voids. Thermophiles encode heat-shock proteins, refolding denatured kin with chaperone grace, while acidophiles extrude proton pumps to neutralize intracellular hell. Natural pH swings in vents have prepped them for anthropogenic tides, joint studies affirming microbes' resilience to modest drops. Yet in this future, extremes amplify, birthing consortia that glow with symbiotic fireflies of fluorescence. Plankton's eclipse hands them the throne, their biomass rivaling vanished blooms in shadowed productivity. Faint lights pulse rhythmically, as if signaling across abyssal plains. Are they merely survivors, or harbingers of an ocean remade in elemental fire? Hover amid the plumes where mystery thickens, these metallivores dissolving boundaries between organic and inorganic life. Radiation-resistant strains, akin to Deinococcus kin, repair DNA shredded by vent emanations, their genomes bloated with repair arsenals. As deoxygenation spreads, anaerobes like methanogens join the fray, belching gases that warm the deep further. Biofilms on rocks teem with layered societies, primary producers atop scavengers in vertical harmony. The glow intensifies at dusk cycles, drawing unseen eyes from the gloom. Humanity's emissions unwittingly crown them, acidification unlocking niches long sealed. What dread symbiosis brews when life's base turns predatory on minerals? Sense the unease as their expansion hints at planetary reprogramming. Surface waters stratify, trapping warmth while vents erupt unchecked. Extremophiles like Georgenia and Ludibacter persist through acidified flux, their metabolic versatility mocking predictions of collapse. Euryarchaeota halobacteria dominate saline pockets, water cages shielding proteins from desiccation. In speculative futures, they hybridize with plastid relics, blurring chemo and photolines in eerie fusion. Clouds of them refract light into prismatic halos, visible from submersibles as omens. The ocean's breath shifts from oxygen to hydrogen sulfide whispers. Will this new order sustain abundance, or starve the chains above in cold calculation? Finally, let us tangle with trepidation. These microscopic monarchs herald a food web untethered from solar tyranny, thriving on geothermal wrath. Their faint glow illuminates a transformed sea, where energy flows from core heat rather than sky. Plankton's ghosts linger in sediments, but vent life's pulse quickens, poised to redefine hunger. Metallic husks drift upward, seeding shallows with crystalline promise or curse. Questions haunt. Can familiar megafauna adapt to this chemical feast, or wither in its shadow? Life endures, but alien now, its mysteries etched in glowing script across the deep. The abyss stirs, whispering of empires risen from ruin, forever veiling horrors yet unborn. Now, imagine a plankton world transformed by the silent assault of ocean acidification, where the delicate silica shells that protect and define many tiny drifters begin to lose their strength. Diatoms, the towering giants of the microscopic realm, build their intricate cell walls from silica, encoding itself like glass around living cells. This shell, called a frustule, is both armor and ballast, helping them survive and sink, transporting carbon deep into the ocean. But as waters grow more acidic, these silica shells dissolve more slowly once they sink, disrupting a delicate balance. The slower dissolution means that crucial silicon, needed for new shells at the surface, becomes locked away in the deep, sparking a puzzling paradox. Instead of aiding the diatoms, this chemical shift starves them of a vital resource in shallow waters, where sunlight and nutrients must converge for blooms to flourish. What seemed like a protection mechanism turns into a silent sentence of decline, whispering doom for one of the ocean's most vital architects of life. Delve into the ecological consequences. Diatom populations, once resilient, begin to falter as their building blocks vanish from accessible waters. Researchers project declines of up to 26% by the year 2200, a staggering drop considering their pivotal roles. Without robust diatom blooms, the entire marine food web feels the tremors. Zooplankton, tiny animals that feast on diatoms, shrink in abundance, leaving larger fish and marine mammals with dwindling resources. The ocean's carbon pump weakens too. Diatoms trap carbon when they die and sink, sequestering greenhouse gases in the deep, but fewer diatoms mean less carbon locked away. This loss intensifies global warming, creating a vicious feedback loop. In the twilight of these diatoms, the ocean's delicate balance tilts dangerously, sparking a cascade of ecological uncertainties. How will the seas adapt when such a cornerstone of life disappears? Picture swirling clouds of ghostly creatures with bodies made partly of silica, their shapes refracting light like stained glass underwater. These zooplankton, once reliant on diatoms for sustenance, now graze on mineral-rich particles altered by acidified waters. Their translucent forms pulse rhythmically, ribbons of fragile latticework bending with currents. Scientists observe abnormalities in their silica deposits, suggesting environmental stress reshapes their very physiology. This fragile mineralization acts as a double-edged sword. It offers protection but also makes them vulnerable to changing chemistry. Could these new zooplankton, forged in acidified oceans, evolve into entirely novel life forms? Their shimmering bodies hint at adaptation but also evoke haunting beauty tempered by fragility, a dance of survival teetering on a knife's edge. Consider the broader implications for biogeochemical cycles. The silicon cycle intertwines closely with carbon and nitrogen, weaving a complex web that sustains ocean productivity. As diatom silica production declines, the ocean's silicon reservoir fluctuates, disrupting nutrient supply chains to myriad species. Changes in sinking particle composition affect sediment chemistry, altering the long-term storage of essential elements. Experimental evidence suggests that acidification alters silicon to nitrogen export ratios, a subtle disturbance with profound consequences. What might seem like microscopic shifts ripple upward, impacting food security across continents. The battle for survival now hinges on chemistry as much as biology, with consequences unfolding silently beneath the waves. Appending this elemental balance signals a new era in ocean ecology, one fraught with uncertainty and potential collapse. Feel the eerie quietness settling over once vibrant bloom regions, where seasonal algal bursts that once painted seas in greens and blues now retreat or vanish. Observations reveal that coastal zones, critical nursing grounds for juvenile fish and invertebrates, face the harshest blows. Food chains reliant on diatom productivity thin and fracture, leaving predators with little to feast on. The decline in surface productivity alters oxygen dynamics, contributing to expanding hypoxic zones, dead patches haunting the seafloor. These oxygen-starved regions, once rare, now spread as ominous shadows with potential to engulf vital habitats. The cascading disconnect from primary production heralds a stark reshaping of marine biodiversity. How will life below adapt to an ocean that no longer pulses with life's initial spark? Amid this unfolding tragedy, science reveals unexpected paradoxes. Reduced dissolution of silica shells means they sink deeper before breaking down, locking nutrients away but also increasing silica export to the deep ocean. This chemical quirk confounds straightforward predictions, highlighting nature's complexity. It suggests that acidification does not simply kill diatoms outright but rewires nutrient cycling in subtle, complex ways. Models incorporating these effects forecast profound long-term declines in diatom populations that current observations only begin to unveil. This invisible flux of silica alters ecosystem functions beyond direct biological impacts, touching sediment chemistry and carbon storage. Could this silent reshuffling pave the way for entirely new, unknown pathways for life? Or does it tighten the noose squeezing ocean productivity and resilience? Zoom out and imagine the ocean's vast expanse, painted not in lush phytoplankton greens but in muted shades, where diatom's slow decline shifts the very color of seas. Subtle changes in plankton community composition hint at emergent competitors, some less efficient but more resilient to acidification. This reshaped web could favor fragile, smaller taxa or entirely novel mineral feeders that we scarcely understand. Such shifts carry profound consequences for fisheries, climate regulation, and oxygen generation. The ocean's ability to sequester carbon weakens, hastening warming and deoxygenation in a spiral of decline. Yet in this shadow, sparks of adaptation flicker, mysterious and tentative. What ghosts of once glorious blooms will haunt the future ocean? What strange new life might rise? At this precipice, the fate of silica-dependent life stands as both a warning and a question. As diatoms wither, what chains will carry energy through future oceans? Their crystalline elegance, so vital and vulnerable, embodies the ocean's fragility in a changing world. The slow disappearance of their glass houses signals shifts deeper than surface loss, echoes of change in the ocean's breath, chemistry, and life forces. An ocean stripped of its silicon architects will birth strange, uncertain new ecosystems, mysterious in form and function. Here, science meets speculation, and horror meets wonder in the deep's endless dance. What wonders and terrors wait as life reinvents itself beneath acid seas? The answer hides in the shimmering ghosts of plankton's glass. Step into an unsettling future where the ocean's green giants, the eukaryotic phytoplankton, slowly dwindle under the creeping influence of acidification. These single-celled organisms, responsible for nearly half of the Earth's carbon fixation, are battling against rising carbon dioxide levels that not only warm the seas but change its chemistry profoundly. In nutrient-poor tropical and subtropical oceans, acidification disrupts their delicate internal balance, slowing photosynthesis by up to 30%. Here, the smallest changes ripple outward, causing the ocean's productivity to drop by an estimated 10%. Releasing a silent shockwave through the marine food web. Intriguingly, some cyanobacteria species, tiny plankton cousins, manage to survive, even thrive in these harsh conditions. Yet their rise cannot compensate for the loss of eukaryotic diversity, leaving marine ecosystems on precarious ground. How does nature cope when its green engines sputter and falter amidst relentless chemical assault? Find yourself drifting through these subtropical waters where ocean acidification thickens the plot. Nutrient availability, especially nitrogen, dictates which phytoplankton can endure the new regime. Eukaryotes, with their complex cellular structures, need more nitrogen and other nutrients than hardy prokaryotes, tipping survival scales against them. Periodic pulses of nutrients, like fleeting eddies of vital nitrogen, can temporarily revive blooms, but these moments are fleeting in an acidified world. The intricate dance between nutrient supply and carbon uptake falters, throwing off delicate balances honed over millions of years. This imbalance not only weakens the base of the food chain but threatens to disrupt the ocean's carbon sequestration, the vital process of sucking CO2 from the atmosphere. Could humanity unintentionally unravel this climate feedback, forging an ocean less capable of breathing for the planet? Venture further into experimental waters, where microcosms mimic ocean futures confined in glass. Studies reveal acidified waters suppress photosynthetic rates of many eukaryotic phytoplankton species, including the vital diatoms that build silica skeletons. While some species slow growth, others vanish quietly, shifting community compositions in unpredictable ways. Dinoflagellates, often the troublemakers behind toxic algal blooms, gain ground under acidic, warming conditions, reshaping food webs with eerie consequences. These shifts create ghostly blooms that differ in color, form, and toxicity from their ancestors, complicating predator-prey dynamics for everything from zooplankton to fish larvae. The ecological balance wavers, as diversity declines, and less nutritious or harmful species replace lost friends beneath the waves. Are these emerging dominants temporary blips or harbingers of a new oceanic order? Feel the unsettling calm over vast oligotrophic gyres, ocean deserts where these subtle changes loom largest. Satellite data reveals diminishing net primary productivity, where in places a 30% drop shadows seasonal cycles. The loss of eukaryotic phytoplankton in these vast blue expanses weakens carbon uptake drastically, dimming the ocean's role in regulating global climate. Cyanobacteria, smaller and more resilient, fill some gaps, but their smaller size and different physiology capture far less carbon than lost eukaryotes. This imbalance suggests a less efficient ocean, like a machine missing a vital gear, sputtering but still moving. With less organic matter sinking, deep-sea ecosystems starve, shifting energy flows and recycling efficiencies. What new forms of survival will emerge in this dimmed oceanic twilight? Explore how acidification's interplay with warming creates both doom and paradox in marine systems. Rising temperatures accelerate metabolic rates and alter stratification, exacerbating nutrient scarcity in surface waters. Yet warming sometimes counteracts acidification's suppressive effects, leading to complex seasonal and regional variability. In coastal ecosystems, warmer waters can prolong algal blooms, but acidification changes species compositions, often favoring harmful forms and decreasing overall diversity. These compounding stresses blur the future, creating mosaics of vulnerability and resilience across the seas. Marine microbes and phytoplankton communities adjust rapidly, but often in ways that undermine stable ecosystem functioning. How resilient is the ocean when the very building blocks of its food web wobble beneath shifting chemical tides? Zoom in on tiny phytoplankton cells adapting or succumbing in these new harsh conditions. Their intricate mechanisms for carbon concentration and pH balance strain under acidification's persistent assault. Some species turn inward, minimizing energy costs by down-regulating carbon pathways, a double-edged sword that could slow or speed their demise. As eukaryotes struggle, picocyanobacteria flourish, reallocating energy to outcompete their larger cousins in the race for scarce nutrients. This shuffle feels like an evolutionary gamble, favoring those able to survive rather than those best for the ecosystem's health. Such microbial poker reshapes food web foundations, with vast unknowns about the long-term consequences. The ocean's grand energy flow, once steady and rich, teeters on an unfamiliar edge. What unseen forces will dominate this microbial battlefield? Contemplate the broader implications for global fisheries and human food security. Phytoplankton decline cascades upward, threatening fish stocks, seafood harvests, and livelihoods of billions relying on the ocean's bounty. Diminished primary productivity shrinks nursery habitats, disrupts spawning grounds, and reduces available prey for higher animals. As food webs unravel, marine ecosystems may lose resilience to other stresses like pollution and overfishing, inviting collapse. Economic and social repercussions ripple through coastal communities unprepared for such rapid ecological shifts. The ocean, a vast food factory, risks faltering just as human demand peaks. How will societies adapt to seas less rich with life? End this reflection with a haunting question. As acidification continues its relentless advance, reshaping plankton communities with unseen hands, can the ocean's green engine find new hope? Will the survivors adapt, evolve, and restore balance? Or will the seas fall silent, reflections of a world that once was? The answers remain cloaked in chemical fog and shifting currents, whispered only by the faint glow of remnants beneath the waves. This uncertain future blends scientific insight with a touch of mystery and fear, urging us to watch closely, to understand better, and to act with urgency. After all, in the story of the future ocean, the smallest forms hold the greatest power, and their fate may be ours as well. Follow one fragile glass eater as it ascends from the lightless deep, carried by subtle currents into shallower realms where predators lurk in the gloom. These enormous jellyfish-like harvesters dominate the midwaters now, their translucent bells pulsing with hypnotic grace across vast oceanic expanses. Descended from ancient salps and siphonophores, they have evolved silicate-reinforced membranes that shimmer with inner light refracted from consumed glass zooplankton. Each contraction sweeps cubic kilometers of water, filtering metallic microbes and crystalline drifters into biochemical fuel with ruthless efficiency. Their bodies, vast as hot air balloons, trail tentacles lined with nematocysts that paralyze prey in silent bursts. Coordinated pulses ripple through swarms, creating bioluminescent waves that light the abyss like underwater auroras. In this nutrient-starved future ocean, they thrive where others perish, embodying evolution's cold calculus. What ancient instincts drive these ghostly fleets to conquer the sea's empty heart? Picture their gelatinous forms drifting in perfect synchrony, silicate plates clinking faintly like wind chimes in the current. Membranes once flimsy now boast armor forged from dissolved diatom relics, granting buoyancy and protection against unseen rivals. They metabolize with eerie precision, converting chemical energy from extremophile feasts into slow, sustained propulsion. Swarms span horizons, their glow pulsing in unison, as if linked by invisible threads of communication. Chemical signals propagate through the water column, summoning kin to bountiful patches of glass prey. This collective behavior blurs individual boundaries, hinting at a superorganism veiled in flesh and crystal. Horror stirs in their scale. One bell's contraction equals the heartbeat of a city. Do they hunt alone, or does a deeper mind orchestrate the harvest? Delve into their predatory ballet, where glass eaters meet their fate in a flash of refracted light piercing the dark. Tentacles ensnare flocks of silica zooplankton, dissolving lattices to harvest embedded microbes in seconds. Digestion chambers pulse with acidic fury, recycling minerals into fresh plates for the next cycle. Energy efficient beyond measure, they store fuel in vacuoles, enduring weeks without a meal in barren gyres. Bioluminescence serves dual purpose, luring prey and warding rivals with dazzling displays. In acidified waters, their dominance surges as traditional zooplankton dwindle, filling trophic voids with ghostly abundance. The ocean floor below receives cascades of undigested husks, seeding benthic gardens in perpetual twilight. How does such perfection arise from chaos, whispering of designs too flawless for chance? Sense the mild dread as their empire expands, schools blotting out what little light penetrates the mesopelagic zone. Reinforced with iron oxides from vent microbes, plates gleam like burnished steel under faint blue rays. They navigate by magnetoreception, aligning with Earth's field to track distant prey blooms. Reproduction defies norms. Clonal budding releases miniature harvesters that mature in months, overwhelming ecosystems with numbers. Predators above hesitate, for their stings carry neurotoxins evolved from chemical feasts below. Vast aggregations form living nets, kilometers wide, harvesting in rhythmic waves that reshape currents. This biome of flesh machines pulses with alien rhythm, far from the teeming chaos of old oceans. What shadows flee before their inexorable advance? Imagine trailing one colossal specimen, its bell contracting to propel through veils of lesser life. Silicate infusions grant resilience to pressure waves that crush ordinary gelatinous kin. They exploit deoxygenated pockets, gill-like structures extracting oxygen from bound minerals in prey. Swarms coordinate via pheromone clouds, converging on upwelling plumes rich in extremophiles. In this future, they outcompete fish schools, their low metabolism thriving in warming, stratified seas. Glow intensifies at dawn and dusk, signaling hunts across abyssal plains. The water thickens with their presence, a living fog that muffles sound and sight. Are they evolution's triumph, or harbingers of a sea stripped to spectral essence? Feel the subtle horror in their unity. Pulses synchronize over distances defying physics, as if sharing a neural net woven from water and will. Tentacle arrays deploy like fishing trawls, ensnaring glass zooplankton in iridescent clouds. Internal currents churn prey into slurry, fueling growth that balloons bells to record sizes. They evade surface storms by diurnal migration, descending thousands of meters in eerie silence. Chemical senses detect prey gradients from afar, guiding swarms with predatory certainty. In barren expanses, they sustain on cannibalism, dissolving weaker kin without remorse. This ghost biome hums with purpose, machines of jelly conquering the void. What consciousness flickers in their synchronized glow? Hover amid the swarm where light bends through countless silicate facets, creating prismatic labyrinths. Armor deflects bites from opportunistic squid, turning defense into offense. They modulate bioluminescence for camouflage, blending into starry abysses above and glowing vents below. Energy webs form, symbiotic microbes within recycle wastes, enhancing efficiency tenfold. Vast die-off seed nutrients for new generations, cycling life in closed loops. The ocean's pulse now matches their rhythm, a symphony of harvest and rebirth. Traditional predators starve, unable to pierce armored forms or match endurance. Will this reign endure or fracture under unseen pressures from the deep? Finally, confront the awe and unease. These harvesters crown a food chain reborn from ruin, their glow illuminating paths untrod by sunlit life. One pulse recycles eons of evolution into fuel for the next, blurring life and mechanism. Questions linger in their wake. Can higher trophic levels harness this ghostly bounty, or wither in crystalline shadow? The sea whispers of empires vast and veiled, where horror meets wonder in pulsing light. Life persists, transformed into spectral harvesters sweeping clean the future deep. Their coordinated breath hints at minds beyond our grasp, veiling mysteries in jelly and glass. The ocean endures, but forever haunted by what rises to feed. Zoom out from the pulsing harvesters, their ghostly glow fading into the vast blue expanse that now seems unnaturally serene, too still for an ocean teeming with life. Oxygen levels plummet as photosynthetic plankton vanish, replaced by efficient but breathless chemosynthetic webs that gulp the sea's breath without return. Skies above pale subtly, robbed of half their oxygen tribute, a planetary pallor creeping in like dawn's reluctant light. Humanity's fingerprints linger in genetic scars, engineered plasmids drifting through currents like cursed relics from forgotten labs. The circle twists closed not in restoration but reinvention, microbial oxygen whispers emerging from synthetic code echoing ancient hubris. What price did we pay for this cold efficiency, trading vibrant blooms for crystalline silence? Drift through surface waters stripped of color, where once emerald phytoplankton painted seasonal tapestries now lie barren under stratified lids. Without their ceaseless photosynthesis, dissolved oxygen crashes, hypoxic shadows swelling into dead zones that swallow coasts whole. Marine mammals gasp in thinning air pockets, their massive lungs straining against invisible suffocation. Coral skeletons bleach not from heat alone but oxygen famine. Reefs crumbling into white graveyards haunted by fleeing fish. Deep currents slow, starved of sinking organic fuel, trapping heat in abyssal tombs. This breathless expanse pulses with alien rhythm, chemosynthetic ghosts sustaining scraps above the void. How does the planet endure when its lungs collapse in slow motion? Peer into the twilight where harvesters reign unchallenged, their silicate empires recycling dust into dim glow without atmospheric gift. Atmospheric oxygen dips fractionally, yet enough to haze horizons, a subtle warning etched in faded blue. Plankton's engineered airs stir in sediments, plasmid-laden microbes exhaling bubbles from unnatural unions of code and chemistry. These synthetic breathers mimic lost kin, fixing carbon through hybrid paths that blur nature's line. Horror whispers in their origin, lab escapes or viral insertions from our meddling hands. Vast schools of remnant fish circle dying reefs, eyes bulging in oxygen debt. Will this false dawn save the seas, or mock our desperate tinkering? Feel the chill as deoxygenation births new horrors, jelly legions expanding into sunlit shallows where air once mingled free. Without plankton's bounty, food chains contract, megafauna wasting to shadows of former glory. Whales beach in confusion, sonar silenced by barren silence below. Engineered microbes bloom in patches, their oxygen faint and fleeting against the tide of loss. Genetic echoes carry antibiotic resistance, toxins from our age woven into deep-sea strands. The ocean's voice muffles, currents whispering secrets through stratified barriers. What spectral forms claim the throne when abundance yields to engineered scarcity? Hover over poles where ice retreats, exposing waters starved of oxygen yet rich in chemical promise from below. Harvesters migrate poleward, trailing bioluminescent veils that lure desperate predators into futile hunts. Plasmid carriers hybridize with natives, birthing strains that glow with artificial fire. Oxygen gradients sharpen, surface gasps fueling anaerobic realms below where methane belches rise unchecked. Humanity's legacy pulses in these mutants, CRISPR scars visible under electron gaze. Fisheries collapse worldwide, ghost boats trawling empty blue. Does this reinvention herald survival or deepen the abyss's grasp? Sense the mild dread in calm seas masking turmoil, where chemosynthesis crowns a monochrome world devoid of photosynthetic fire. Skies thin further, jet streams wobbling under oxygen's subtle theft. Engineered oxygen flickers in lab-monitored blooms, but wild seas defy control, plasmids mutating beyond intent. Apex survivors adapt, gills evolving to sip from mineral breaths. Benthic gardens flourish on fallen husks, life persisting in cracks of catastrophe. Yet the air we breathe carries oceanic loss, a reminder of interconnected fate. Can synthetic sparks ignite true revival, or merely prolong the inevitable fade? Confront the scale. Global oxygen drawdown accelerates warming feedbacks, permafrost thawing in tandem with sea silence. Harvester's empire spans gyres, their pulses syncing with Earth's weakened heart. Plasmid plagues spread via currents, rewriting genomes in viral waves. Remnant plankton kin hybridize, birthing chimeric forms that tease restoration's edge. Horror lies in subtlety. No cataclysm, just creeping pallor and breathless blue. Coastal cities choke on failing fisheries, echoes of plenty haunting markets. What final mutation births the sea's salvation, veiled in our own creation? End on suspended awe, the ocean reborn yet breathless, its mysteries deepened by loss and unnatural return. Life claws persistence through crystal and code, whispering warnings of paths untaken. Questions burn eternal. Did we birth saviors or specters in our desperate grasp? The deep endures, transformed into cold machine of survival's art. Plasmids drift as planetary heirlooms, oxygen's ghost flickering in engineered hope. Horror and wonder entwine in this final twist, nature's resilience mocking our fears. The sea breathes anew, but forever altered, its secrets sealed in fading green echoes.